Hello, let's start now. I'm Jeff Ding from Intel. I'm working on some OpenStack cloud project currently. Today, me and Fred, we are together to talk about something, talk about the open source license problem, especially in current cloud computing era. Okay. We can see, sorry. Wait a minute. Sorry about that. Okay, it comes. Yeah. Today we can see currently we have a lot of computing public cloud provider. For example, the Google, the Amazon, and Microsoft, and also from some China cloud provider, for example, Ali and Tencent. They are using many open source projects, but how they contribute back to the open source project, it's a problem. The related open source project we normally is this, here we list several typical projects. For example, the Redis, Elasticsearch, Kafka, MongoDB, and also the MySQL and PostgreSQL the database project. So this is the most influenced project. And next, I will talk about, I have some summary of some events in the industry of the open source project community and the cloud industry. Last year, there's a very famous event in the industry, or it's a very important thing to influence the open source community and the license decision. Last year, in the August 2018, the Redis labs decided to change their Redis modules, not Redis core, it's just Redis modules. From the license has been changed from the AGPL to Apache 2, modified with the comments clause. This I remember in last year, this event has a lot of influence in the industry and a lot of discussion in the social medias. And also it introduced many confusion of the Redis future. Several months later, it's this year, February, the Redis lab decided to change the license of the Redis modules again from the Apache 2 with the comments clause to RSAL. The RSAL stand for Redis Source Available License. It was created by Redis Lab itself. In the license definition, there's a lot of clarification for the confusions. I think this maybe it's more clear now. But as I mentioned, the license change is only for the Redis modules. So if you have if you want to do more about all the Redis software license problem, you can here is a link for all the license for the different Redis modules. The next event is also it's a very important thing with a lot of discussions. It's the MongoDB change. In last year, October, the MongoDB project decided to change their license from the AGPL to SSPL. The SSPL means the server-side public license. It's also being created by MongoDB project themselves. And there's also a lot of discussion and confusion there. So how to do it, whether it will be changed again, I don't know. It's open. And recently, this year, there's also another story about Elasticsearch. Amazon has some decision or some new product want to forked the Elasticsearch upstream project and have some advanced feature enabling then commoditize the product as their some cloud products. So that's also influence to the open source project. So that's in the future how the Elasticsearch, the company, the project, how to react to it is still open. That's my part. My part is just a summary of all the story, the event in the industry. Next, Fred has some thought on how to handle it.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. I'm Fred from Huawei. Okay, the subject of this topic is where open source will go. Open source industry will go. I think to answer this question, we can go through the business models about open source industry. These are the very typical business models. Some of them have been proven successfully, and some of them are still being proved. Like the first one, donationware. I think Hadoop is a typical example that it is used to basically it is used to compete with other computers. And the second one, JF mentioned in the past, like paid additional features. Users can use the free software, but if they need more features, they need to pay. And with the next one, advertisement partnership like Mozilla, Firefox. In the search engine, it used and it can get paid from the backend. And also the support and service, we are all very familiar with it. For example, the Rail and Ubuntu, it is free to individual users, but for customers, if they need, for enterprise customers especially, if they need more, they need a vendor to provide the service. And SaaS, which costs the common cost, is another example. And besides this, there are some vendors who are hardware vendors. They attend or they joined open source so actively. The purpose is to make sure the software can be integrated with can work well on their hardware. So this will help them to sell the hardware. So this is a business models. I don't know new model will come now or not, but currently these are typical. And then another information I want to share here is I think the open source is really working on building ecosystems. When I talk about the ecosystems, I will talk about from user ecosystem and the technical ecosystems, two parts. I just listed the three typical ways to build the ecosystems. The left one, the first one, the software or the product itself is proprietary, and it is the source code is not open. But on the interface part, for example, the SDK or API or tools, it need open source because this will help a customer to understand well, and the customer can use it easily. Now, in the middle, first they have the open source software, for example, OpenStack, and many users are using it. And when some of the vendors productize it, the customer will move to the paid users or the commercial users. And the third one is similar, but the difference is some company like Google open source so many projects, and this bring customer very, very important impression that Google is very good at technology. So with this, they can attract more and more customers. So to answer the questions of the subject, where open source will go, I think it is proven that whatever some of the vendors or some of the open source vendors, the communities changed their license, but open source has value to customers and the vendors. And if we are working on open source, I think the company or the vendors must select the proper business model and think about it carefully. And if we decide to use open source, as we say in the keynote yesterday, collaborate with without any boundaries and take the open source openly. I think this will help open source industry move on. Okay, thanks. That's all.